2/3 of UK men now classed as UK and obese, and 11% increase since the last time it was measured, shows that something ain't working, right? Because we've forgotten we're technically part of the health industry, but we are a subsect of that. We're the fitness industry, but the people making the biggest amount of noise at the moment is the aesthetics part of that. So you could almost say it's the aesthetics industry. We've fallen back into that cut bulk mentality, six pack, build muscle, etc., and forgotten who actually needs our help and why, I think.
So we've done our New Year in Review episode, right? We've done our resolutions for the year. And as most people listen to this, let's face it, be honest, have probably fucked up your New Year's resolutions already. Don't worry. Me and Rob have got you to rights, and we're going to help you find the best program in the gym to get in shape this year and get you started again. So maybe January's been a bit of a shit show, but February onwards is going to be good. So before that, I mean, we didn't mention fitness goals really, other than aerobic health for you doing some endurance work this year. How has your training been going this year?
Do you know what? I never thought I'd say it. I'm kind of more inspired with my training than I have been for a while. It means I get to go to town on my legs, which I'm enjoying, which I've always enjoyed. I have some hip issues at the moment, so strength is way, way down, and I've got to work around it, but it's cool. I get to go to town on my back, which I'm loving the hell out of. And at the moment, during this February, I'm doing this push-up challenge. Obviously, I'm taking the volume down on my chest for the right fucking reasons, which only benefits, what I'm doing resistance-wise. But getting this extra cardio in, I thought within a week I'd be bored, I'd bail, I couldn't stand it. All the reasons why I've not done cardio before for a long period of time. But because I've got this more inspiring end goal, it's making it much easier to get through that, because now I've got a reason for doing it. Whereas any time before I've just gone, well, I guess I should do cardio. I'm getting a little bit older now. I need to be healthier, think about my heart, my lungs, etc. It's not inspiring enough. And now I've got an actual event where if I don't do it, I know how much it hurt last time. And considering this time I'm going to do 3 times that flipping volume, it could potentially kill me. So I need to make sure I'm in a position where I don't get killed. Really.
Are you doing more than just steady state aerobic work? Are you doing actual sort of conditioning?
So at the moment, I've broken it down. I, believe it or not, periodized it because I know what I'm doing in a way. It's the first sort of phase is building up that zone 1 capacity that I really didn't have, right? So it's longer, steady state, not letting my heart rate go above 126 BPM.
That's very specific. Not 130 to 150, 126.
126. As soon as it hits 127, I slow down and or get off the bike and go out of the gym. Fucked it. Went over 127, ruined the whole day. So it's a bit of a focus on that.
Go to Mackey's, fuck the diet up, start again on Monday.
I've done various 60 to 90 minutes cardio sessions across several different machines. And then the next phase will include, so as of next week, actually, the next phase includes starting to get some zone 2 stuff in. So there's going to be some intervals, there's going to be some muscular endurance work, that sort of thing. And then obviously the further into these phases I go, my weight training is only going to be focused on power and a bit of muscular endurance in there as well, which gives me more capacity and freedom to go harder on the zone 1 and 2 cardio. But there's still a lot of zone 1 work. It's almost the majority. I think it's I seem to remember reading it's 35-40% of overall training volume for the week eventually. If you think about it, that's what you're pretty much doing. You're not constantly climbing up the whole time, and that's definitely what threw me last time, was not having that ability to keep that up. But I do need to step the intensity up as well. Got some exciting things coming.
I exactly. You just need enough weight training to hold on to tissue, really, at this phase, right? It's not the priority. It's putting this on the back burner for something that's more pressing.
Exactly.
But I think and as you know, right, I've done a whole sort of photo shoots where I've gotten sort of almost bodybuilder stage lean without ever getting on a bodybuilder stage because I don't like the tiny pants. But I generally believe, looking back now, the best I've felt is probably the first one. And it's not because my diet was healthier, because the healthiest I've been was the second one. Definitely the best my physique has ever looked was the second one. But I just felt when I say first one, I mean sort of the really shredded UP photo shoot days, not like the first one where I tried to do it myself and look like an emaciated Calvin Klein model. Because I did more cardio. And I feel that you have that hump when you start doing cardio, but when you actually get into it, you start feeling fitter. I think in some ways it's more addictive than weight training because you just feel good when you're aerobically healthy. Like you feel healthy rather than tight and sort of like just like lingering around this tissue. And I'm not a big man, so like I can't even imagine what really big dudes feel like with that, you know. But I'm all for. I never want to do it, and I'm still not doing it. But I do think, like, if I got over that first 4 weeks of, like, truly going into cardio, I think I'll be hooked for a while.
Yeah, I think so. I'm reading a lot of ultra endurance stuff at the moment just to try and get myself in that mindset and to learn more about a realm that I haven't really delved into. And there does seem to be a big thing with, like, ultra runners especially, that like a survey was done that if ultra running was proved without a doubt to be detrimental to your health, would you give it up? And like over 90% said no. There's people that get addicted to that type of thing. Can't say the same for the gym, but maybe it'll be the same for the gym. I don't know. But I do like, I can kind of zone out a little bit. Gives me a chance to listen to a different type of music, maybe even listen to some podcasts while I'm doing it, which I don't do when I train with weights. I have to have something aggressive on or something with a bit more volume to it. But I'm kind of inspired by some of these fitness challenges that are going to come later down the line and some stupid things I'm going to try out because why the hell not? That have inspired me more than any gym challenge that I've faced for a while. And to be fair, I've not faced a gym challenge for a while. Something like, what would you do? It's either like a giant death circuit or some sort of CrossFit style Metcon workout or
just getting lean,
things
right?
like that.
But it's stuff you've done.
Yeah.
These things you've done, you've ticked the box, right? And,
exactly.
you know, I feel like I don't have, look, I'd like to put on some muscle, but I don't have that drive for it like I did when I was 22 and I wanted to pick up girls. I'm about to get married this year. I'm very happy. I don't need to be bigger. You know, I think something like that's interesting. The way people I look at is changed. Like 2 people you should follow, by the way, based off this goal. The first one is Joel Jameson, if you don't already. Did you follow Joel Jameson?
No.
Joel Jameson was at one point, I think, hopefully I'm not wrong on this, Conor McGregor's conditioning coach.
Okay.
He's done a course called 8 Weeks Out, and it's all about conditioning. If you want to learn about conditioning and using HRV as a fuel, as a driver is really good. I'll send you the link after this. But the other one I've just got really inspired by now. Like when I was a kid, I used to be inspired by Greg Plitt, and then it was like Dorian Yates, and it was like bodybuilders. And now I'm really into Nick Bare. Do you follow Nick Bare?
No, I don't follow.
So he's now doing a video series of dieting for his a bodybuilding show. But he's normally like an ultra marathon runner, but he also does a lot of weight training. He's a big dude. Okay. And he also runs a supplement company business that does very, very well for itself. So it's like his stuff's like business and managing this. But like you said, like as I progress now, it's more about like, right, how do I stay productive? How do I keep my brain in good stead? How do I look after myself mentally? And the idea of doing something, getting into something like this, where you get up in the morning and go for a big old run or do some conditioning, where it's not just a gym stuff. You can sort of get out and get a break from the world. And especially in like cities like Hong Kong, one of the few things I'm excited about when it comes about coming back to the UK is that escape from the madness. And I think you can go one step further if you start going out and doing some conditioning. It's a true mental escape.
Yeah, I think so. Really. And again, I've been inspired by bodybuilders. I've been inspired by my Olympic lifters. But ever since I really started following those people decades back almost. Like I've always been inspired by like the Mark Twights of the world, the ultra endurance guys. I'm super inspired by the uphill athlete guys who worked with Mark Twight as well. That side's always fascinated me, and there's always things they do where I'm like, oh, I want to try that. Not because I think I'll be good at it, but because I know I'd be terrible at it. So I want to test my worth. I want to test my resolve. There's two. I'm not doing them this week. There's 2 tests. One is on the Mark Twights programming, and another one my friend just told me about. One of them is on an Airdyne, and you ride at a certain wattage for a certain amount of time, and then every minute, I think, you have to increase your wattage by 25 or something like that. I'm probably butchering this, right? And you keep going for as long as you can. Part of me wants to go, well, I have no idea what that would be for me, so I want to see. And another mate me showed me this yesterday, the Norwegian military fitness test. My God. So apparently less than 1% get through. And there was like a whole 20-minute video, but just kind of fast forwarded through it. There was a seal row, a max seal row, and I love the seal row we've got at Until. I love it.
Is this why the Norwegian military? Is this why the Norwegian military have never taken anyone over, because they've got a great army of 3 people?
They can pull, but they can't push forward.
There's not many of them. They take out 100 people, but there's 1,000 people in the army. That's it.
They're too busy doing fitness tests. But this treadmill test is there's enough mystery and intrigue in there for me to really want to do it. It's you jump on a walking speed of 7 kilometers per hour, so brisk walk, right? For some people that'd be a run, and it's flat, and you do it for 10 minutes, and then you take the incline up by 3%, and you walk for another 5. So speed never changes. Speed stays at 7 kilometers, so a brisk walk. After the first 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, you take that percentage up, the incline up by 3%. And it's how long can you go for? And I think the minimum is like 25 minutes. But you're also carrying 55-pound rucksack and a 3 to 5 kilogram rifle as well. And we watched the video of this rock climber doing it, and he's absolutely destroyed. It's mad. And part of me is like, I really want to fucking try that. Really want to do it. It kind of fits in with the training as well. I'd have to train for that, but it's these little extra challenges of things I've never done. I think that's where you push yourself. I was having this conversation with our friend Harry just the other day, that the gym itself is one of the best environments for growth by far. But if you've been going long enough, it can become a bit of a comfort zone in itself.
Yeah.
Because you control the variables. 3 sets of 10, 5 sets of 5, maybe a little miniature circuit, this amount of rest. Like, you're controlling what's going on. Nothing's ever thrown at you to wildly push you out of your zone. Like, if you're trying to get a new deadlift 1RM, you're not going to increase it by 30% in that session or anything like that. It's going to be, minute. It's going to be a couple of kilos at most, if that. It might even be microplates, which is phenomenal. I'm not saying, keep going to the gym. It's still the best environment in the world for growth, for personal growth and physical growth. But I think sometimes we have to consider what the end goal is that we're trying to achieve. And yeah, maybe if there's a little bit of muscle on there, cool. But again, you're still controlling the variables that do that. So where's the actual challenge? Yeah, you've still got the mental challenges of going there and showing up and looking after yourself and making sure everything's great and fueling your body and things like that. But I'm not saying everyone has to compete, but unless you are competing towards something, what are you using that for? Because I don't think healthy lifestyle is inspiring enough for everyone. And I think that's why some people drop out later down the line.
I don't think it's inspiring for anyone. I don't think it's inspiring for anyone. Unless you've had the doctor saying that you're unhealthy and you need to get healthy.
Yes.
Do you think this mindset is worse for coaches? Because I think you're saying people control the variables. But I think coaches control so many more variables, because especially good coaches, because they now focus on what is optimal, what is the most perfect setup I can do. So why on earth would I do anything different than a cable lateral raise or a contralateral split squat or go on a hack squat? And we spoke about this before with the people taking away skill-based lifts because a hack squat's better for quads, so I won't squat, and then you lose the skill aspect of this. But I think we also lose fun in training. To a degree, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying none of this. I'm not saying any of this isn't fun, because I love my training. But there's no. Maybe it's just a lack of novelty. But I remember throwing caution to the wind in training, and maybe that was dumb as fuck, but it got me going. It kept me going. It kept me excited. I've got the app downloaded, and I'm just do I sign up for a month knowing that actually I'm not going to get anything from it other than maybe that bit of fun back? And that is re-signing up to, may he rest in peace, gregplitt.com for a month. Because that website, when I first started, showing my age, when I was 17, 18 years old, it was stupid, right? A man was clearly VAR'd up to the max, doing 1 meal a day and pushing his metric supplements as the rest of the meals. But just the way the guy carried himself, the way he lived his life, the way he just jumped at every opportunity, the way he just trained in the way that he wanted to, and he didn't give a fuck what anyone else thought, and he just loved it, and he got up at 5 a.m. and just there's something just inspiring about that. whether you go around that approach or not, you can take a lot from that energy. I used to watch our video blog before we went to the gym, and often it would be like what his thoughts were on coffee. It didn't matter. There was enough swear words and animation to make me want to train. And I think stuff like that's lost. I remember we used to have a trainer at City called James Langley. Shout out to James Langley. Right. And he, every now and again, he used to have literally got a pack of cards to the workout where, like, you pick an exercise, but it's like exercise based off the suit, and you pick a number, and you have to do like 6 or 8 or 10 of them. And like, is it the most optimal workout in the world? No. Is he going to do that every week? No. But every now and again, just something to keep it engaging is actually probably better.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to use this word, but what's missing is creativity, both in people's own programs and what coaches give them, and what coaches then continue to learn and implement and test out new things, if coaches are even doing that anymore. Certainly not many of them. But the problem is, as you say, creativity, people think, right, I've got to come up with a new exercise, got to come up with a completely new way of doing it. Well, it's not. Like, in terms of that deck of cards thing, okay, like the CrossFitters and the boot campers loved that one because they could do it with no rest, straight from one thing, straight to the next, straight to the next until the deck's completed. Cool, that's one way of doing it. If you were to try and do that for the rest of your life, you would get bored as hell, right? But there's multiple ways you can do that. Multiple ways. Like you can just use that card for the amount of reps you're going to do, right? You can do it for the amount of sets. You can do it for, I don't know, maybe it dictates tempo or something like that. There's so many variables you could use that allows for a lot more creativity, where suddenly there's something a little bit new, a little bit unexpected. And that's what we can't really, because you can't have completely unexpected programming. You can't have completely intuitive workouts unless you are an elite level veteran or something like that. So there has to be some predictability as well, but that can become so boring. I think that's why some people end up having these massive long breaks where they lose motivation, inspiration to go to train in any way, shape or form, or they hit their goal. This is an experience I've had with a couple of clients. They hit that weight loss goal. They look phenomenal. They feel phenomenal. But then there's the big question of what now? What do I do now? Because again, maintenance isn't necessarily an inspiring goal to want to achieve for a certain amount of time. The automatic, right? Well, let's get you big now, is not also not for everyone, not inspiring for everyone.
I actually don't think it's inspiring for many. I think there's a massive trap with coaches when it comes to building tissue, because one, the people who maintain. I think I did a video a while back called "Avoid the Maintenance Trap." The biggest problem with people maintaining, the people that maintain their weight are the people pushing for something. No one goes in the gym and goes, look, I'm going to maintain today. It's the people who push for poop to build tissue that end up maintaining, right? And
sure. Yeah.
But I also think, like, when it comes to muscle building, this is something I learned from the boys at R&T. Actually, and when it said to me, I was like, oh my God, this is so true. We all assume that every client wants to build muscle for one of two reasons. One, they say they want to build muscle. And two, that's just what we as coaches are programmed to do. Diet, you build muscle. That's the next thing. That is what you do. And actually, I don't think many people want to build muscle. They say it because they feel that's what they should do as well. And they like the idea of having big arms. But in reality, what they just want to do is not get fat. So essentially, you need to keep some level of training in, realizing their muscle gain is going to be really slow because they're not willing to eat the food and the calories and get a bit softer in the pursuit of doing it. Yeah. And that becomes a dangerous mark where it doesn't become inspiring for them or the coach, because they've put all this money and time, and I speak from experience here, into their education, and they can't really apply any of it because no one's really committing to it.
No. And I think the industry has fallen back into this trap that it was in a few years ago, where everyone is now just bulking and cutting. Losing weight, of course, losing body fat, optimizing your hormones. Yeah, in a way, you've got to cut as such. But bulking and cutting obviously is the mentality and the method for people competing on stage. Like, you won't find many other athletes in other arenas bulking and cutting unless they're specifically trying to move up a weight class or something like that. So we've got trapped back in this, but now everyone's calling it prep when they're not competing. What are you prepping for? There's so many kids. I love my gym. I love everyone at my gym. Yeah, there's so many kids doing this off season, on season, who never get shredded, who never get big, and never step on stage. So what are you actually doing? You're not doing anything. There's no inspiration there. Your inspiration is based on your favorite athlete and your favorite coach's methods. So I think part of you is just trying to either, I don't know, please them, get a like or a follow from them, I don't know. But general population that needs our help, who aren't getting our flipping help, which is why the obesity stats keep on rising. 2/3 of UK men now classed as UK and obese, and 11% increase since the last time it was measured, shows that something ain't working, right? Because we've forgotten. We're technically part of the health industry, but we are a subsect of that. We're the fitness industry. But the people making the biggest amount of noise at the moment is the aesthetics part of that. So you could almost say it's the aesthetics industry. We've fallen back into that cut bulk mentality, six pack, build muscle, etc., and forgotten who actually needs our help and why. I think.
Do you think there's an issue here? There's a lack of commitment, though. And I'm not going to be. I don't want to sound like that personal trainer goes, well, if your client's not doing it, it's their fault. They don't want it enough territory, because I think that's bullshit. But I think there's two aspects of this. There are. I do think now the world's gotten more comfortable. I do think post-pandemic, I think people are. I don't want to use the word fragile. I want to use the word like they're dipping their toe in things. They don't commit to things. They want, like I found now, like I have to dumb down programs to what is the thing you can do, rather than right. This is what is expected of you to achieve this goal, and that from a weight loss perspective, that means it's harder, and that may be part of the reason why we have the 11% increase. But I also think when it comes to this goal going into other stuff, like you're never going to be a professional. Well, you maybe will be. You're a professional hiker or ultra marathon runner, I don't think. But what you've done is you've committed to a goal. That is, I'm doing something that's going to require me to do the work necessary to get an aerobically good health. Whereas what I think a lot of people do, they may get in shape briefly to do, because I've paid a lot of money to an Embody, a UP, a HIIT, insert personal training company here. And after that, anything other than maybe having abs is a hobby. So I play, and which is fine, but I play a bit of tennis. I do a bit of jiu-jitsu. And while these are cool hobbies, no one commits enough to then go, well, if I'm not inspired to gain muscle, why don't I just throw all my trainings in, even though I'm not going to be a professional BJJ athlete? Why don't I train like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu athlete? I'll get better at it. I'll probably enjoy it, my hobby more, and it gives me an outlet. But I don't think, maybe that's coach's job to convince their clients to think that way and see that way. But if people aren't committing to it, it just stays this thing they just do on a Wednesday, and there's no link between that and the gym.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a shame that we're trying our best to serve these people, but it's not, because again, we're trying to put everyone in the same bracket, and programming's getting so, I mean, you understand it all way more than I ever will, in terms of optimal alignment, in terms of the attachment is probably best for that particular person at that particular time. But that has a drawback in as well. And you might be about to say this, but this has a drawback as well, of the fact that because I think in optimal, I sometimes find it very, very difficult sometimes to like pull back on look, you told me you wanted X. I told you it requires Y. And you're saying, well, can I actually do it with B? And I'm like, no, because that doesn't work. So I'm certainly, sometimes knowing stuff is part of your own downfall, because maybe I'm not quite as adaptable as I maybe would have been when I was at Version Active, and I just do whatever the client wanted, regardless whether it got results or not, because that's what they wanted. Yeah, of course.
There's a middle ground,
of course. No, 100%. And that's it. That's what we're forgetting, that there is a middle ground. And now there's two factions of the industry warring the optimal bros, as I think is hilarious to call them that, versus the old school bodybuilder bros. And now, again, rather than helping the people who need our help, they're just arguing with each other on social media on who's right, when you're both right. Like, everyone's correct here, but we can come together and give the people who need our help a good mix of everything so they get exactly what they want. Like the flat barbell bench is the biggest exercise in contention at the moment, right? People arguing the hell over that. Should you even do it? Is it optimal for pec growth? What if you just want, what if you want to do it? If you want a bigger bench, if you want to be that person that's inspired by having a bigger bench, then you need to fucking flat barbell bench press, don't you? If you just want a bigger chest, okay, there's other things you can do on top of that. Or you could do it completely without it. But to just completely demonize movements that have been in the zeitgeist for however long since it started doesn't help anyone. It creates more confusion amongst people. Again, when coaches aren't, and I use that term loosely because, again, some people are just selling PDF fucking programs and not really actually giving any sort of coaching in there. We can help that individual understand what's probably best for them and what they do or don't need to do, whilst allowing for creativity and to get some of what they want in there. Obviously, we give them a little bit of what they want, but a hell of a lot of what they need. That's the best. That's the best thing for them. We're getting too dogmatic.
The dogma that really annoys me, and you said it, other things on top of that, when it comes to using that bench press argument, I hate the fact that we're using, we're talking about exercise like there's only ever one exercise within a program.
Yeah.
Like, is a bench press good for most people's pec development? Probably not, to be honest. Like, very few people are suited for it. You need a big rib cage and short arms. Like, that's a very small percentage of the population. But on, like, at the same time, you can do it. You've got other exercises in your program. Like, it doesn't, like, use that as a delta exercise if you want, and then do something else for chest. Like we are just we're in such a pursuit of optimal. We've taken away practical. And that's something I always fight for my programming. As I look at it and go, am I over sciencing this? Am I making it complex for complex sake? And I'm very big on at the moment. So like when it comes to like remedial stuff, it's like, how do I hide that in bigger lifts? Like I like a contralateral split squat, for example, right? Because I don't want to spend loads of time dead bugging clients when I can just put a dumbbell in someone else's hand and train the legs. I want to start doing crazy external rotation drills with a rotation and a breath work when I can do an incline bicep curl and a dip.
Yeah.
We're getting away. We get to the point where I forget that when I started training, because I was watching, well, I was very other people, but like, let's use the example I said earlier on. I was inspired by watching people like Greg Plitt train. If Greg Plitt was sitting there doing breath work into external rotations, I probably wouldn't have signed up to his app. I mean, forget our clients are those people. They're not the broken. Exactly. They're not the broken mid-30 guys that we are now from doing this wrong for years, right? Yeah. We don't need to wrap them in bubble wrap and try and find the perfect joint angle. Like, find something that works, doesn't cause them pain, work hard, and just simplify it. So going on to like what we were going to talk about here with regards to the best program for beginners. Obviously, this will depend on the goal to a degree. But if we assume that most people are going to come and listen to this, or coaches that listen to this, most of their clients are going to be looking at programs for building tissue and maybe losing some body fat, even though we can argue is how much is training involved in that. What do you think are the best program, let's say modalities or splits for beginners? What's your first one? What do you think?
So I have, without pitching, in my program, a complete beginner to the gym program that someone can use to gain, first off, gym confidence, understanding of basic movement, and just kind of learning how to work hard, right? Whilst I'm not there by their side. If I was by their side, it would be very, very, very differently. Mine complete beginner gym program is mainly based on machines and body weight, right? Which some might argue, some might agree, it's absolutely fine. That's just the way I've chosen to do that. Because again, I'm not there with that person. So I think the first thing beginners need to do, obviously, is understand how weight feels in these certain things. Again, let's assume they just want to build a bit of muscle. We're not necessarily talking functional. The first thing they need to learn is how to actually put tension through the muscle, right? Within the most stable environment. And that's the two reasons why I've gone for that for my complete beginner. That's the key word, complete beginner. Maybe not necessarily someone who's done the gym for a little bit, but not necessarily seen any progress on it or doesn't really know what they're doing. Those are the first two things for me. Let's get you stable so you're safe and you're confident, and let's learn how to work hard. And we can do that across various rep schemes. Some body weight stuff I've got in there that is slightly higher rep. Just to, again, part of the reason for that is just a bit of a mental challenge where they're probably safe. It's rare people get injured during a press up or something like that, or a press up variation. So we've got the chance to, okay, let's work on the mental side of things here and teach you how to keep pushing when it hurts in a realm where you can't possibly get hurt. You haven't got to worry about a barbell crashing on your fucking face or anything like that, or falling off a machine, or dropping dumbbells and cables and looking stupid in front of everyone. You haven't got to worry about that. Those are my first two steps. Stability, confidence, learning how to work hard, learning how to push against force in a way you've not done in your life normally.
I think about this question, right? Like the easy answer would be doing full body GBC. While I agree with that, I see a benefit to that. I've coming round more and more off your essentially with your point. Do you know like Mike Mensa style high intensity bodybuilding, like Drew Bay's sort of stuff, right? I don't think that's a terrible beginner program.
Right.
Done like Mike Mensa, not done like Dorian Yates. Because I think a lot of those are very machine based. And yes, you can argue, can most clients recover from that level of like complete eccentric failure? Can they even get there in the first place? No, but if you put them in a stable environment, they're going to get closer than they would if they were on free weights. If then you use things like challenge sets, you use things like, like log booking, you'll eventually get there. And I like the fact that you do that until you basically stack a machine, do all the right movement patterns. And then maybe you add a pre-exhaust in. It's simple. It's effective. You could probably get it done if you're doing one real hard set when you get to the point where you like maybe start with 3 and then eventually work up to one hard set and you learn how to do it. Yeah. And then by that point, that would give you so much time because you probably only need to train 3 times a week. You probably only need to do one set of everything when you've really dialed into it, like a couple of warm-up sets and then just go. You have so much time to go on to one of my other points was like going off your point was building an aerobic base. Imagine if you did a stable machine work that took you 30 to 40 minutes, full body, and then you did, rest of the time in the gym or the other days, you did aerobic capacity work. You'd be in really good nick without actually spending that much time in the gym.
True. Very fucking true. Very true. And, Go.
I was just saying, like generally, as the more and more I think about this, like I'm coming home in June, and the chances are, at least for a period of time, I'm going to get off the gym floor when it comes to coaching one-to-one clients. I could join a gym based off what I want as a gym. If you have any recommendations, by the way, or if you're not training at a place that you train your clients in, you want a training partner, I come back in June. I might be coming your way, depending on how this conversation outside goes. But I'm really tempted to find a big machine gym and just do literally a high intensity bodybuilding. I haven't done it. I haven't pushed those boundaries. And talking about getting out your comfort zone. Like just going to that bit where there's a bit where I hit technical failure and then I go to the bit where I want to cry a bit for a period of time safely. I'm really excited about that prospect. And it also allows me to spend more time on my business because it's less time consuming.
True. Very true. What I love about the machines, especially for beginners, is it's an easy way to gauge progress because if you were doing let's say we're doing a barbell bench press or a dumbbell bench press or something like that. Okay, so for the first couple of weeks, you're going to feel sore, DOMs are going to be through the roof, and you're going to feel probably good for feeling that. But then once your body adapts and you get used to that and that starts, going down a little bit, then we want to know we're making progress to stay inspired to stay in the gym. So with the machines, it's just as simple as we just take the pin out and you put it to the next one and you're probably good. Whereas with a bigger free weight movement, it can be tough to judge exactly how much more you can put on, which can throw your whole workout. If you put an amount on that was just that bit too much and you can't even get to the rep scheme and you feel a bit deflated or it just did not work at all or for whatever reason, you've almost kind of lost a set, maybe multiple sets there. Whereas that's not going to happen on the machine. You just put that one pin down and then next week or next 2 weeks, it's the next pin and so on and so on. Like you say, until you're stacking the machine, which, for a bit of realism is not going to happen for every single person out there. Certainly not in the short term. But I think it's such a great way of just constantly seeing that progress. I love it, especially if your gym hasn't got micro plates or things like that available to you and you've got no choice but to make those bigger jumps. I love them. I absolutely love them. Can't stand anyone that argues against them.
I also love a good pin loaded machine because I used to be such a plate loaded junkie because all my favorite bodybuilders use plate loaded machines. But like one of the things you mentioned, which I found very interesting, is early on, is that I didn't even think we'd talk about is confidence. And you want to improve confidence in the gym. And the problem I find with certain things, it's like, reason why I like doing an exercise like if you've got a T-bar row and a machine chest press, but they're across the gym, that person's going to walk across the gym and maybe they're not comfortable in that. But if you did an incline dumbbell press in the prone row, they can stay in the little corner and that takes away a friction point. What are the things, if you're listening to this and you haven't gone to the gym this year, list down the things that creates friction. The biggest things to the smallest thing. I don't know how to use a piece of equipment, or I don't want to be seen, so I kind of want to hide in the corner and I can't do that with my program. List these out. And if that's something that you can work on, look at what the solutions are. Or if you're working with a coach, and even this is open, even if it's my clients, if I've given you something that scares you, send me a message and go, like, this, and this. I'd way approve that and just go, didn't go to the gym this week, didn't have time.
Yeah.
Tell me, I didn't go to the gym this week because I'm a bit scared of setting up the leg press. Cool, we'll find a solution for that. But I think the other thing when it comes to plate-loaded machines is if you have to, like leg presses, 400-degree leg presses, if I've got to spend 10 minutes putting plates on it, I'm just not going to do it. Barbell hip thrusts, if I have to spend so much time putting plates on it and off, I'm just not going to do it. So like I've been trying to preach to my gym to get a hip thrust machine. Not because I think it's the greatest machine, not because I think it's like the top priority, but just like you free up some racks and I can just lock in and go on an exercise that I probably, and a muscle group I neglect mainly because of the setup time. Yeah. And I think the more we can avoid that, the easier a lot of these things are going to be for people.
100%. Yeah, totally agree. And just to go back to something you said earlier about like that like moving away from that full body GBC in busy commercial gyms is difficult to program for, right? But there are ways around it. But it's something that occurred to me that when I was doing that with complete beginners, like fully deconditioned, like the rest periods are so much longer between each exercise, between each round. Sometimes that last set or two, they're not quite getting to the rep scheme that we've designed that we're looking for. Sometimes they're not even getting through the whole session. Maybe they're only getting 4 exercises done before they're completely fucked, right? So in which case I start asking myself, am I actually doing full body GBC? Not really. Just some sort of superset that's fucking them up and getting like, there's different ways to do it, you know, for that beginner in particular. Different ways to do it, especially if they're ridiculously deconditioned. But then some took to it fine, you know?
Yeah, that's such a good point. And when I look at GBC, I generally think like there are benefits to it. And that aerobic benefit is a point, right? And I did a GBC bout last year at the start of my prep for my last photo shoot.
Sweet.
And it benefited me so much doing it, right? And so I'm not saying sometimes sucking up a little bit of like GPP and SPP. For people who don't know what that means, GPP is general preparedness phase and SP is specific preparedness phase. So that'd be like doing a backloaded structural balance program because you want to gain muscle, but your range of motion sucks so bad that you can't get most muscles into a full contractile range. That's going to limit your hypertrophy. You do a little bit of what you need to allow you to have what you want. If your goal is aerobic is the issue, like I get on a hack squat and my heart rate gives way before my quads, then doing a GBC phase would be good for that because you can work on that aerobic stuff whilst practicing the skill of some of these weight training sessions, and then you can improve that. But other than those times where there's a specific reason for doing this, I sometimes always look at things and go, would I want to do them? Now, there are exceptions to this rule, right? Like heavy, big leg drop sets, I don't want to do them, but like I quite enjoy them when I'm there. But if the answer is rarely ever yes, I got to think, am I fooling myself that my clients want to do this? Like the one I always remember is like doing track work, right? And we've worked in a couple of gyms where it's like you want to do the track work because it gives an experience. First thing, if you need to push a prowler to get someone fucked enough to give them an experience, you're probably not good at the rest of the workout. But secondly, I'm not at any point am I accusing anyone that's listening to this that you are any of those people if I worked with you. There's some incredible, again, I'm going to shout out, we've shouted out Eddie Bruto a lot recently, positively, and it's another one. I don't think because Eddie did some tracking in his workouts, he had any inability to get someone incredible gym floor coach. But I also think as well, like, yes, okay, is it the best tool for conditioning, pushing a prowler? No. Is it, if I ever had a client go, Simon, could we skip the bicep curls? Because I just want to do more track work. Said no one ever. So what experience am I actually giving them? Like, am I just making the workout miserable? They came in for arms and I skipped the arms because I wanted to make sure they did reverse sleds. What's the wrong with me?
Yeah. But again, like it's that experience, and what ends up happening is that people's memories are short. They probably just end up remembering the last 15 minutes of the session based on how they feel as they walk out of the gym. If they feel knackered, then they recognize, that was a good workout. But not necessarily. Like again, like you say, in some cases, maybe the first 40 minutes weren't pushed hard enough, wasn't quite right, wasn't enough weight, whatever the hell. And you've just put them on there to make that up, to make them walk out the gym and think, God, because fuck me, like give me a proper tough leg workout, or even a proper tough upper body. I shouldn't have enough left for the prowler, and if I do, I'm going to be in a pretty ropey state afterwards.
Remember when I said that in the hardest workouts we've ever done episode, which I don't know if I've released by this point yet. I don't think I have. But how one of the hardest workouts was an arm workout. If you can get that, you don't need the prowler. And if I want to improve my conditioning, then I probably wouldn't use the sled. I'd probably get on an air dive bike. I'd probably get on a rower. I'd probably just get on a treadmill. You know, and it's interesting you mentioned these things, because I wrote some notes for the show, and one of them was like the worst programs for getting in shape. So I had three notes written down. The first one was anything that sacrifices major stability for function. I had things like alternating dumbbell presses. There was a time and a place. I don't know it allows you to have a reach, it allows you to positively expand the rib cage, it allows you to get some thoracic rotation. But if your goal is hypertrophy, that is a rubbish choice, because you sacrifice so much stability for function. I had anything you do not enjoy enough to train hard or be consistent, which is essentially what you were saying there. And then I wrote bro splits.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Again, it comes back to that enjoyment factor as well. That maybe for a short phase, maybe you do a bit of a bro split, which automatically kind of creates a bit of a deload for some people if they've been training long and hard enough inadvertently, because the overall volume is going to go down. But every now and then, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
In terms of bodybuilding training, most of our lives have been bodybuilding training, right? Be honest. Be absolutely 100% honest. It's the most you've ever enjoyed training when you used to do a bro split. It was for me.
100%.
I enjoyed it 100%. So much more.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember the exact first bro split I ever did. It was, I just kind of got to the realization around about 24, 26, that my sprinting days were done. And this is just before I really, really got into my Olympic lifting. And there I was, reading Flex magazine, and there was a 16-week Jay Cutler protocol. Oh my God, there's about 12 movements for chest alone on a Monday. I was loving it. It was the most excited to read the next page and then go, right, I'm going in there today. I used to take the magazine in with me to read it as I'm writing it down in my notebook as well. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Couldn't get through it all. It was way too much volume for a little boy like me, but absolutely loved every second.
May rest in peace, John Meadows programs, right?
Oh, come on.
Like Onslaught was one of the best programs I'd ever done.
Yeah.
But for people listening to this, though, like as much as we're talking about the positives of bro splits in terms of enjoyment factor, if people are doing a bro split now and aren't sure why we initially put it in the shits category, the problems I find with bro splits, we talk, the obvious one is frequency, right? It's a lack of frequency, so it's not going to be as great a hypertrophy stimulus. Overall training volume will go down. Let's say we did 3 exercises for chest, and your load's going to go down in each one because you're getting fatigued. If you took those 3 exercises for chest and put them on different days, you can lift more weight on each one of them, and over the week you're going to lift more load. The other thing is problem with bro splits is if you miss one of the muscle groups, right? You just not do like it, you're not getting anything for that week. And let's face it, which ones are you missing? Is it arm day or is it leg day? You do the stuff you don't do the stuff you don't like. Whereas if it's part of the whole thing, you kind of do it. Ooh, hold on. What should I do? As a sort of time, first close all running apps tabs and rejoin the studio. If on laptop, make sure it's plugged into a wall outlet. If your camera's auto light switch, turn this feature off. Consider joining from a better computer or mobile app. And it's given me a okay. Yeah, jump back in. Right. I think we're back on.
Cool. Hopefully. How weird.
Yeah. Cool. I'll do a clap, and then we were chatting bro splits still, weren't we?
Yeah.
Do you remember what we were saying before that happened? I think you'd started something.
We just kind of said about the, which of the sessions.
Your first bro split, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then
first bro split. Yeah.
My first bro split. Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, my first bro split. Jay Cutler Flex Magazine. I want to say, God, maybe even 2001 actually. Maybe even 2001. That long ago. And it was amazing. But like I say, just too much volume for a young boy like me. If I'd had a training partner, would have been an entirely different world, I reckon. But trying to do that amount on my own without that level of conditioning for, muscular hypertrophy, it was always a recipe for disaster. And, you get stuck in that. You get stuck in the curse of the bro split. Too knackered. I can't do legs. I can't do this back session. I'll have a couple of days off, but start again on Monday on chest. Always.
I think you've been better off for that than you would be now. Like, I think people have this idea about training volume that the more advanced you get, the more you can do. No, I think the more advanced you get, the less you can do because you're better at the work you do. You're more efficient. Like, this is why, look at Jordan Peters, right? He does 2 sets, top set, back off. Look at Dorian Yates in 1 set. Imagine if you did 5 sets of 10. This relationship that we think about volume, that I think it's inaccurate. I think find something that's the minimum threshold that you can work hard. Go from there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So, to sort of close off, we've given a few people a few basic points to kind of get started with their training. Is there anything that you think that's absolutely has no place in someone's training routine?
For beginners, again, you mean?
Yeah, let's say beginners. We'll do another episode with intermediate guys, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think because there's a lot of nuances for intermediates. There's less of those nuances for beginners. Stuff that shouldn't be in there. God, this list could end up being quite long, really, when you think about it. And that's part of the issue. Coaches are too preoccupied throwing too many things at beginners and forgetting what they actually need to do. One of the things I wouldn't worry about if you're a complete beginner is this obsession with Metcon work that everyone's got at the moment. Like, whether it's a CrossFit workout or whether it's a pseudo CrossFit style workout, you don't need it. Like, you can create this a very, very similar effect. Let's not forget there's specific reasons for that sort of metabolic conditioning work. You can see phenomenal progress in your overall health and your overall physique doing the things you've already kind of spoke about with some sort of steady state aerobic work in there, the type that you enjoy. You don't need to be leaving the gym dripping in sweat. You don't need to be doing multiple circuit style training. You don't need to. You're going to be so under recovered across the week, especially if you're brand new to this, that you end up demotivated because your energy's low, your body feels horrific, you feel beaten up. Still difficult to do in commercial gyms. Like, if classes is your thing, then cool, fill your boots. But still, I think maybe a class should be the very, very first clients I had in my first personal training gym. Some only wanted to personal train twice a week with me, and then they would do a class as well, like a circuit or a HIIT style class as well. And that kept their enjoyment through the roof. Is it the best way? Maybe not, because I can't control what's going on in that class. I can't control their recovery. But it worked for a couple of them. So that's the first thing I would avoid, is any sort of...
Yeah, I think to piggyback off that, I think... it's a balancing act, right? Because I used to be the person to shit on classes. Like, spin classes are rubbish for fat loss or things like this. I'm like, people, coach all the time will shit on Zumba. Yeah, no one gets shredded doing Zumba, but this person doing Zumba might lose the first 2-3 pounds and could become your client in 5 years because they like it and they want to do more with themselves. But I also think, you look at the big, heavy Metcon work and you actually look at it and go, hold on, all you're doing here is ramping up appetite. You haven't burned many calories. You're now just making it harder to diet. Do stuff that makes the diet easier and steady state work and, a good efficient amount of sets that you can work hard without destroying yourself is probably good for most. Destroy yourself in the set, but don't just keep coming back for being a glutton for punishment. Do condensed, very hard work, not sporadic, moderately hard work, overkill on moderate stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. There's 2 things just quickly there. It's funny you said about the spinning. I remember the first Men's Health. I want to say it was Men's Health rather than Men's Fitness. The first Men's Health that Ollie Foster appeared on the front cover of. Shout out Ollie Foster. And I had that on my wall. I'll never tell him that. He's
He's my first online
Public
coach.
knowledge now. I've just said it. I never said it to him whilst at UP. Or maybe I did actually. I think it was quite obvious I fancied him. But yeah, I had that cover on my wall with all the other covers as well of various bodybuilders and stuff. And I remember in the article where he spoke about he was doing spinning, and I used to shit on spinning. And after reading that article, I was like, I want to spin. I need to spin. So I started jumping in a couple of classes every now and then before I realised I'm not a spinner. That's not for me, bro. I'll leave that for the Ollie Fosters of the world. I'm
gonna message Ollie, and he's gonna come watch the show because not only if you said that, it's funny that I reached out and Ollie was my first coach ever, when I was 19 years old.
Amazing.
Based off the fact that I didn't have it on my wall, or did I have it on my wall? I had Kirk Miller's on my wall, I think, but it was based off the fact that I wanted to look like a men's health cover model, and I got him to do it. I wanted to know who's under like a cover model that will actually coach me, because I wanted to look like a men's health cover model, and that's what he did.
I love it. What a geezer. And the what was the other thing he said? I was so glad you kind of touched on it, that a lot of these coaches and classes that push this high intensity interval training as the thing to go, as the way to go, when essentially, you are just ramping up a massive fucking appetite, and they're still kind of stuck in this old paradigm of this afterburn effect, this epoch effect, which I was chatting with a client the other day about that. Okay, the fitness industry, once they learned about that, they loved it. And it's still, I believe, still taught on the personal trainer course. It certainly was when I was teaching it. And this afterburn effect, this idea that the intensity you're working at and these interval training ramps your metabolism so high that you're going to be burning calories at a much, much higher rate for 48 to 72 hours after the session. When really it turns out, when you dig into the research, it's like an extra 12 to 60 calories that you're likely to burn.
Half a biscuit.
Top of any other type of workout, So
and now you're really hungry.
And now you're really fucking hungry. So what's likely to happen? Oh, you're going to eat more than 60 calories, aren't you? Of course you are, bro. I would. Flipping hell. If I ever came out of a workout hungry, my God, if there was any sort of calorie deficit created from that workout, which obviously wasn't, it's certainly eradicated by the time I'd eaten.
So on that note, we'll do another episode on intermediates. So for people who want to find me, search at Kingsley Dutton. We've got some exciting things coming very, very soon. If you're in Hong Kong, we've got our first in-person seminar coming for you guys in 2 weeks' time. So if you want to do that, message me on Instagram. I'll send you a link and we can get you set up on that. We've also got the HIIT Training Education Level 1 that can be done at self-paced anywhere around the world, coming in about 2-3 weeks. It's all filmed, recorded, and edited, so we're just waiting for the date to launch, so that's exciting. If you want to follow Ollie Foster, as everyone we've now just listed off is at Ollie Foster Fitness, and for anyone who wants to follow Robb McGeary, let's do Fat Loss Fastlane for this one, because you're starting to post on it again, I saw today. Looking jacked, by the way, despite doing less weight training. You look surprisingly jacked on last few videos. I was
like, surprised.
Sorry, I didn't mean surprisingly, Jack. Sorry.
No, like 100%. Some people have been shocked. Like, I'm not the guy that looks jacked in all clothing. I'm not that guy. Never have been that guy. And sometimes when there's a little bit off, you go, oh, okay, hang on. But in certain angles, I don't look jacked. I'm deceptively jacked. That's the problem. But you put some weight in my hand, things pop out, and I'm not just talking about arousal levels.
Yeah. You're fat and small, but you have a massive erection.
Yeah. Oh, TRX. Oh, come on. Yeah. Right.
So where could people find about you and your massive erection?
So come find me and my, various appendages on, find me on fatlossfastlane.com. At the moment, you'll see me obviously talk about the things we talk about on this podcast. You'll see my training being shared about what I'm doing differently endurance-wise. And you can try, if you want to. Try? No, don't try. Do. You can donate to my 2,800 push-up challenge for the charity Shelter, which is 2,800 push-ups across February. So basically, I'm breaking it down to 100 a day when I remember to do them. I forgot yesterday, so I've got to do 200 today because I am the type of person that does what he said he would do, even when the cameras aren't watching. So come find us, donate, help people out, because obviously a lot of people are struggling at the moment. That's what
I love that. I love that, man. Thanks as always, man. I'll chat to you next week.